Good evening, everybody. Today is Monday, May the 28th, and you are watching FCN Prime News. I'm Tresene, here to talk all things news, business, and politics with you all. If you are new to Prime News, please note that I am here with the facts and only the facts. And if you're looking for narratives, fake news, alternative facts, and immaterial falsehoods, or whatever else they're calling lies these days, you are in the wrong place. If you're looking, though, for the missing pieces to a story that you may have read or heard somewhere else, which is what we like to call here full factual and historical context, well, you are in the absolute correct place, my friends. You have found your tribe. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and follow so that you never miss another report from us. We are on Facebook and YouTube at / The Fifth Column Network, and we are on Twitter and Instagram at FCN_1. And bookmark our website, thefifthcolumnnetwork.com, where every single one of our shows are available to binge watch on demand. You can also follow yours truly at Tresene on social media platforms. It doesn't matter which one, I have them all. Today's show is going to be relatively short because it is Memorial Day and I've got to go get to the cookout. I've yet to have a plate today. So you should have zero issues staying tuned in for the entire show. And you should, because I have a little Memorial Day did you know for you at the end. But first, I have a sad story to report this evening. An infant died last week in Nashville, Tennessee, when her father left her in a car and took a ride-sharing service to the airport for a business trip. Here's some material facts to add important context. The baby was adopted. Here is a picture of her. And get a good look at her. She's so cute. But here's a picture of the dad. Police say that when Matt Barker went to drop off Katera and his other child, a 5-year-old, at daycare this last Wednesday morning, he didn't realize that Katera was still in the car after the drop-off. He drove home and the young baby was still in the car as he parked it around 8 a.m. in the morning and then departed on a business trip, taking an Uber or Lyft, wasn't said, to the airport, according to police. Yes, the white adoptive father went to a single daycare drop-off location, got his 5-year-old biological white child out of the car for drop-off, but failed to see or remember the adopted black child in the car and failed to get her into said single drop-off location. Katera's adoptive mother, Jenny Barker, discovered the totally preventable, highly reckless, and grossly negligent tragedy on Wednesday evening when she went to pick up both children from daycare and was told that Katera had never been dropped off. It's reported that she called 911 around 5:42 p.m. that day as she raced back home to their family home. She arrived just before the paramedics got there. She pulled the girl out of the car and performed CPR on her. Paramedics did take Katera to the local children's hospital where she was pronounced dead on arrival. Matt Barker immediately flew back to Nashville upon hearing of Katera's death, arriving Wednesday evening. According to the National Weather Service, temperatures in Nashville that day reached a high of 89 degrees, meaning that inside of the truck where Katera was left could have reached nearly 120 degrees. No charges, though, have been filed in the case as of Friday. So far, authorities say that parents have cooperated with investigators. Authorities also say that the parents had recently adopted Katera. I don't think this man is going to ever be charged. He's a white guy, which gives him a presumption of a reasonable explanation, and he's a dad. And we all know they have a much lower standard of parenting, with plenty of room without being villainized, if you will. Without a smoking gun, making it clear that he knowingly and intentionally no longer wanted to be the parent of a black child, this will all be swept away under the presumption of a freak dad accident. So sad. Speaking of freak accidents, a little bit of tech news mixed in with a cautionary tale. Consider this my personal service and duty to all of you. I'm going to warn y'all about this just one time, about having all this facial recognition and voice recognition software in your homes. It has been reported that Alexa recorded a family's private conversations and then sent them to a business associate. In Portland, Oregon, a family's private conversations were recorded by their Amazon Echo smart speaker and then emailed that conversation to a random phone contact in the father's contacts. Amazon confirmed that the event did happen and said an unforeseen combination of random words in the conversation the family was having, and they didn't realize that it was being overheard by Alexa. That is what triggered the action. How could this happen, you ask? Well, I'll tell you. When the device is turned on, Amazon's voice recognition program is constantly listening for its wake word, the word that tells the system to pay attention. Alexa has 4. It's Alexa, Echo, Amazon, or computer, but the default is Alexa unless the user changes it. After it hears the wake word, it starts sending the conversation to cloud computing servers where it's recorded and translated for Alexa to respond to. According to a local news report on the situation, the family's house has multiple Echo devices that control their heating, their lights, and their security system. If you're wondering how the family found out about it, well, the colleague called them to tell them that he had received recordings of their conversations. And at first they didn't believe him, but when he told them what they had been talking about, including the conversation about hardwood floors, they realized that he was not joking. Voice-activated digital assistants have become better at discerning human speech amidst background noise. And as the speakers that listen for speech have gotten better at hearing words spoken even a room or two away. Further, each Amazon Echo speaker has 7 microphones arrayed in it, so the cylindrical speaker can pick up voice commands from far away or even noisy rooms with lots of conversations going on. This is making the balance between sensitivity and not having too many false positives even more difficult to maintain. In the case of the Portland family, there were many false positives reported. First, according to Amazon, the Echo woke up when someone in the home said something that sounded like Alexa. Next, the subsequent conversation included something that to Alexa sounded like send a message request, which at that point Alexa said out loud, to whom? And it is quite possible, according to Amazon, that the family had their Alexa's volume set low enough that they couldn't hear the response, or they were far enough away so that there was enough noise in another room that they just didn't notice. Next, Alexa interpreted something in the background conversation as a name in the customer's contact list, which he must have allowed Alexa to access when he set up the system. Alexa then asked again out loud, such and such's contact name, right? And no one either heard it or answered, but Alexa then interpreted something in the background conversation as confirming with the word right. Alexa then sent that message to the contact without the family realizing it at all. Amazon says it is evaluating options to make cases such as what has happened to this Portland family less likely to happen. It should be noted, though, that Forrester, a consumer research company, predicts that by 2020, almost 50% of American households will contain a smart speaker. So I say expect more of this such and such confusion in the future. So buyer beware and watch what you say if your friend has one and you visit their house. Speaking of buyer beware, if you follow Shaun King on Facebook or Twitter, you may have seen a horrible tale of a woman named Sharita Dixon Cole who was pulled over by police in Texas just outside of Dallas last week. The post on his platform say that during a traffic stop, she was asked to perform a breathalyzer test and she complied and she passed that test, but was told by the officer that he was going to arrest her anyway because she had a bad attitude. According to Shaun King's report, Sharita was able to call her fiance, who was able to eventually show up at the scene. But before her fiance arrived, according to Shaun King's report, the officer first communicated to Sharita that he will be willing to let her go if she performs sexual favors for him, and then proceeded to sexually assault her, touching her under her skirt, and some other things that are pretty reprehensible. When her fiance arrived, the officer asked Sharita if he had a gun and threatened to kill him if she said anything about what had just happened. When her fiance, who Shaun King says he spoke with directly, arrived, he told the officer that he was going to follow them to the jail, and the officer told the fiance that it was completely illegal for him to do so. The fiance also confirmed for Shaun King that Sharita was handcuffed and strangely placed in the front seat of the police car, which confirmed another part of Sharita's story as told to Shaun King. When Sharita arrived at the jail, she reported to the staff that she had been sexually assaulted by the officer, but allegedly refused to properly report it and sent her to the hospital, which is protocol. On her phone call to her fiance and family, she reported the assault to them, and they reported that assault to their personal friend and civil rights attorney, Lee Merritt, who actually knows who Shaun King actually knows very, very, very well. And that is how he got the information for the report. Okay, all right. Did y'all get all of that? Okay, great. Now, on to a bit of journalism 101. What's the first rule regarding sources? You got to confirm facts by contacting both sides before publishing. Well, you guys, Shaun King did not do that. He relied on his relationship with Sharita's attorney, Lee Merritt. He relied on his conversation with the fiance. And from his words, he said that he will always unconditionally believe a black woman. Side note, when are we going to stop let folks pander to black women for likes, retweets, and yeses? When? Anywho, in response, the police released the nearly 2-hour dash cam video of the entire incident, and guess what it showed? It showed Sharita lied through and through. It showed her fiance knowingly lied about the account as well. It was a routine stop. No one, not even the police officer, did anything disorderly. The only person, though, who has issued a retraction and an apology was Lee Merritt, Sharita's attorney. Shaun King, however, shifted the entire blame to Sharita and penned an article framing himself as the victim. I kid you not, it was in the headline. But I thought you caped for women, Shaun King. If you did, you would have owned your error in journalistic research, published a retraction, and apologized to everyone for the damage you caused for not taking the extra necessary step to verify. The takeaway: beware of folks who cape for black women, heck, black people at their political, economic, and social convenience. Speaking of folks dabbling in blackness for the fame and fortune, Kim Kardashian came for the head of Kanye's former music and business BFF, Rhymefest, over the weekend after Rhymefest published a series of tweets about Kanye's abandonment of his foundation, Donda's House, and his alleged statement to, and I quote, F the youth of Chicago, unquote, the city where Kanye is from and famously boasts about in many of his records. Kanye is allegedly said to have said that. It is a crazy story with a complicated timeline and a lot of moving pieces. So over the next couple of days, I will continue to pull the entire story together to make sure I'm giving you all the complete play-by-play, the complete factual context surrounding this issue, and so that we can all see who said what, who did what, and we can all decide together who are the villains and who are the heroes in this story. So make sure you tune in on Thursday for that report. Again, if you have not liked, subscribed, or followed to our platforms, please do so that you do not miss it. In other news, last week there was a historic win in a primary election. A black woman won the Democratic nomination for governor of the state of Georgia. Stacey Abrams won the Democratic primary in Georgia's gubernatorial race on Tuesday, becoming the first black woman in the nation to hold a major party's nomination for governor. Right? Big news. If she does win in November, she will become the country's first black female governor and the first black governor in general in Georgia since Reconstruction. She is a 44-year-old Yale Law School graduate who has a mixed career of a decades-long municipal career in Atlanta and state house politics while running a small business and writing a series of romance novels under a different name. She won 75% of her party's vote in this primary election. But there are mixed views on how well she is going to do in the general election come November. Republicans won't have their nominee until July 24th between Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle and Secretary of State Brian Kemp, two white guys who are at the top of vote getters in a crowded 5-candidate GOP primary race, which contenders are focused on right now, issues of gun rights and immigration. Regardless of who actually becomes a Republican nominee in about 8 or 9 weeks, Georgia is still a deep red state, and so Abrams does face a tough political road ahead. For those who don't know, Georgia hasn't elected a Democratic governor since 1998. No Democrat seeking that office in the past 20 years, including former President Jimmy Carter's grandson in 2014, has ever gotten more than 46% of the vote in Georgia. Abrams is betting that she can succeed by abandoning the typical political playbook of previous Democratic nominees who ran campaigns aimed to lure back older white voters who had come to favor Republicans. Instead, she is hoping to appeal to young voters and non-whites who have been less likely to participate in prior elections. Joy Reid, a TV host and national correspondent at MSNBC, tweeted about the optimism that she has that exists in this race. She references the defeat of Roy Moore in the Alabama race for the U.S. Senate seat, and she tweeted this, showing her optimistic view. She says Georgia population is about 30% black. Alabama is 26% black. She said black voters make up more than 30% of the electorate in Alabama, and they outperformed their actual population share by 4% due to high turnout among black women. The big takeaway, she says, is that Georgia is winnable for Stacey Abrams. She also continued that if black voters in Georgia perform on the level of black voters in Alabama, and Stacey Abrams can lock down a third of the white vote, she is viable. If she can get 40%, she is more than viable. She says it is all a numbers, registration, and turnout game. Well, there you have it. If the black electorate shows up and outperforms their population share, Miss Stacey Abrams may win Georgia. Prime News will certainly be watching, and you know we will keep you all posted. As I close out today's show, I would like to leave you all with a bit of did you know information on this great Memorial Day. As you know, today is the American holiday. It's always observed on the last Monday of May, honoring the men and women who have died while serving in the U.S. military. Many Americans observe Memorial Day by visiting cemeteries or memorials, by holding family gatherings or cookouts, and participating in parades. Unofficially, it does mark the beginning of the summer season. The official history of Memorial Day goes a little bit like this. In 1868, 3 years after the Civil War ended, a group of Union veterans established a decoration day for the nation to adorn the graves of the war dead with flowers and other things. A retired Union Major General, John A. Logan, set the date of the holiday for May the 30th, and the holiday's first observance was at Arlington National Cemetery. The unofficial history goes like this. Memorial Day was started by former slaves on May 1st, 1865 in Charleston, South Carolina, to honor 257 dead Union soldiers who had been buried in a mass grave in a Confederate prison camp. They dug up the bodies and worked for 2 weeks to give them a proper burial as gratitude for fighting for their freedom. They then held a parade of 10,000 people led by 2,800 black children where they marched and sang and celebrated. David W. Blight, a historian at Yale, supports this different account. He traces the holiday to a series of commemorations that free black Americans held in the spring of 1865 after Union soldiers, including members of the 21st United States Colored Infantry, liberated the port city of Charleston, South Carolina. Digging through an archive at Harvard, Dr. Blight found that the largest of these commemorations took place on May 1st, 1865, at an old race course and jockey club where hundreds of captive Union prisoners had died of disease and been buried in a mass grave. The black residents exhumed those bodies and gave them proper burials, erected a fence around that cemetery, and built an archway over it with the words "Martyrs of the Race Course." Some 10,000 black people then staged a procession of mourning led by thousands of school children carrying roses and singing the Union anthem, John Brown's Body. Hundreds of black women followed with baskets of flowers, wreaths, and crosses, and black men, including Union infantrymen, also marched. A children's choir was also present, singing spirituals and patriotic songs, including the Star-Spangled Banner. The African-American origins of the holiday were later suppressed, Dr. Blight found in his research, by white Southerners who reclaimed power after the end of Reconstruction and interpreted Memorial Day as a holiday of reconciliation, marking sacrifices by white Americans on both sides. Black Americans were largely marginalized in this narrative. Dr. Blight's claim is not universally accepted, though. The fact-checking website Snopes says of the 1865 remembrance, and I quote, "Whether it was truly the first such ceremony and what influence, if any, it might have had on later observances, it is all still matters of contention," unquote. This story has been made possible by the research and writing of Sewell Chan at the New York Times. A great piece of history for those who don't know the history of Memorial Day. And with that, that includes my episode of Prime News today. Do we have any comments, Mr. Producer there?
Ms. Shalonda Calloway on Facebook says, says Black Girl Magic.
Thanks, Shonda. Hashtag Black Girl Magic. Is that all we got today? Because I need a burger and anything else that's about to be on this grill. That's all we got? All right. Well, on Wednesday, look out for The Woo Show. I have seen the promo for Wednesday's episode of The Woo Show, and it is amazing. If you haven't seen it, go to FCN_2 to check out what Hulk A-Tone and T-Shock Tax. Wait, oh gosh, she's gonna kill me. T-Shack talks. Oh my God. Please don't hold that against me. See what they're gonna be talking about on The Woo Show on Wednesday. I've also retweeted that as well. Check that out. It's a really great promo. It has a really great voiceover too. It's kind of funny. And with that, please make sure you like, subscribe, and follow us, the Fifth Column Network, on YouTube and Facebook, and check out our website as well. With that, I am Tresnay. This has been another episode of Prime News. Thank you all for watching. Have a good Memorial Day.